Welcome to Kontali, a very tiny room, very big topic. Our first webinar, Seafood Explained. I have with me Lars Daniel Garshol here today as our lead analyst, and he's going to try to explain the resource rent taxation for me. Do you think you can manage?
We'll give it a try.
We'll give it a try. The best of luck to you, and best of luck to all viewers. We have a lot of people following us today, and we will do it in English, so we will try our best.
I just as a check, if everybody can hear us, okay, give us a thumbs up. Just check that the video and audio works.
That's good.
Good.
Thank you, Finn-Arne. Always good to have some locals. So let's just dive directly into the details. We had on the 28th of September. The bond dropped. The announcement of the resource rent tax overnight, 56 billion NOK in share values disappeared in the salmon industry in Norway. And yeah, we had a consultation period, and it's ended now. So where are we now? What's happening now, Lars Daniel?
Now the political discussions and uncertainties continue until final outcome, where the indication from the Prime Minister has and the government has been clear that they'll listen and consider through all the replies that have been. But at the same time, from the Ministry of Finance, clear indication that the tax and the new tax is coming, where they also have stated that the tax model that they have proposed is more important than the actual tax income. So it's been very clear, and the process ahead is likely they're going to say review and look at all the comments and replies, propose likely a new bill that will be made available during spring, and likely conclusion perhaps in July, or any other alternatives that may happen.
So what is this thing they are proposing? Is it a taxation on our common ground, our oceans? Is the right to produce salmon in the ocean? That's the whole point here, or?
Yeah. So what's proposed is on top of your I'll say normal corporate tax of 22% is an additional resource rent tax of 40%, in addition to production fees and other taxes that you might pay. So in sum, just as a simple illustration, it would be approximately or more than 80% tax on revenue. And the proposed model that is come is based on a cash flow based tax model, where there is a limited to only a certain part of the value chain, i.e. home-growing salmon in sea, that is the tax subject, and a model that calculate this resource rent tax based on a proposal that limits it to say what earnings, what costs are deductible, and what investments or other deductions you may have. So this is a simple model which is known from oil and petroleum revenue by the state. But here, of course, the details in the proposal is what's important, and how it's interpreted, and what's included and what's not included. Take next slide. Just as a introduction, I know many of you also that have joined this call. Perhaps many of them are also not from Norway, but we usually look things, and also the proposal is based on Norwegian kroner. Yeah. But the main driver here in the salmon industry in the last 5 to 10 years, and the major part of profit, and it's also what is the say super parts of the profits are driven by say FX gain and weakening of the Norwegian kroner due to monetary policy as the main say effect on why profits measured in Norwegian kroner is so high, and it accounts approximately for 10 or more than 10 billion Norwegian kroner each year, and is also in this proposal subject to the tax, and also the main driver behind the profitable part of the industry is FX.
Yeah. So the farmers should thank the central bank for the profits and not their hard work.
But it accounts for, if you adjust to the historical level, this is approximately 40% of the profit in Norwegian kroner. So it's a central part also of the bill and the proposal and arguments that is not adjusted for and mentioned is this weakening of the Norwegian kroner that makes, of course, imports more expensive, but also exports more profitable, and is a major part. So this slide, the resource rent tax isn't a new proposal either. It was proposed back in 2019, where it was cancelled and implemented with a auction system and a fee for the production, which is now up for renegotiation and political discussion.
Yeah, with this new proposal, how do you see the impact on the industry now, though, with cash flow and investments going further? It's quite heavy what we're looking at.
Yeah, so it's more taxes will of course means less cash. And if you take the proposal as is and say you are a mid-sized Norwegian owned family company producing 50,000 tons per year, and you have a margin 2018 Norwegian kroner. This has of course driven also by FX gains, including here, would have given you a profit margin before you do any type of investments. And this graph that we have here is to illustrate the effect of the proposed document, where you are not taxed on your actual price achievement, nor do you get deductible for every costs, i.e. the biomass, the fish you're producing, the sales and marketing costs you have to sell this product, nor the financial costs are deductible in this setup. It means, if you take it quite literally, it reduces your cash from production on existing production by more than 80%.
Less cash to spend.
So you have significantly less cash to spend, and also if you are Norwegian, the new and the increased wealth tax, which is required, has increased, and also the dividend tax, which is required to pay the wealth tax, has also increased. So with Norwegian ownership, this also makes it even worse.
So local Norwegian ownership of salmon farming in Norway is like an endangered species now, is it?
No, but the risk of you having to pay more than 100% of cash from operation is with the proposal a significant risk. But in either way or form, it means that more taxes leads to less capital to invest, right? And also it lowers this type of cash flow based model, also lowers your availability to service debt, and this has a impact on your ability to create growth and invest for the future and create more jobs, and significantly limits the options you may have.
Yeah, there's no cash, no options.
Yeah.
Basically. Yeah, I think I understand that. You could have explained it later on. So, but kind of the next big things, and we had a big consultation periods. There was a overwhelming response. The industry have been using their share and to take part of the democracy, and it was 412 replies and something around 14,000 pages. I guess you read them all.
I've read a lot of them. I've not counted. I think it's approximately 15,000 pages. I haven't counted all of them, but it's quite many. And
key feedbacks.
The key feedbacks you could structure, say, in 3 or 4 ways. It's say the principal arguments against the tax and the arguments for it. Changes in the proposed framework and say alternative models to tax the industry and say other points that are in the replies. We don't have time to go through them all. But, as I say, what if you summarize it in one graph, and what we've tried to do here is it implies and it goes to question the future prospects of the Norwegian industry, and not only the salmon farming industry, but all other stakeholders around it, where it's very easy to predict, but now is full of political uncertainty, where the political ambition has and was 5 million tons, but has been limited by a traffic light system that in reality maximize as it goes to 3 to 4% at best every second year, and to now as a tax driven and new tax regime that also limits and gives a more marginal scenario and implication for the Norwegian salmon farming industry, where the tax focus and tax revenue from the state comes at the same time as the question, what should we make money on in the future and develop the industry, which you could have in, say, a lost opportunity cost had tax revenue on. Yeah. So it's
looking a bit ahead of this is like because the tax subject as the ongoing the sea phase of the salmonids. But how will this kind of affect the whole value chain? Because it's the salmon farming is a lot more than salmon in cages.
Yeah. So it of course will, with a new tax regime like this, it will always lead to, say, adoption and changes in the dynamic when you are only the tax subject in itself is only a small part of the entire value chain, and this will of course and naturally change the dynamics for the industry, and in addition likely also ownership, but also costs and margin distribution in all other parts, where the ongoing phase in sea for the stock listed companies has been a profit center where you have benchmarked your profitability, but does not represent the entire value creation and how this could have been distributed in another way. And also impacts and what gets also less is all other parts of the value chain that's this impact from OVA to all aquaculture service supplier industry and indirect stakeholders alongside the Norwegian coast, and it likely will not have effects only in Norway, but also in all other regions where the likelihoods of new taxation and new regime increases, where you can already see that some of the key dynamics in the value chain has already started to change.
Yeah. So it's not only look to Norway in technology and performance, it's also in taxation now.
Yeah, perhaps.
Yeah. You see it coming soon?
Yeah, I don't have any comment, but we can take the next graph, which is say the other part of this tax proposal, which is not directly the big salmon farming companies or mid-sized Norwegian farming companies. It's the aquaculture supplier industry, which has been and seen significant growth during the past decade, where it is a vital part for the growth also that has been, and it's a regime that if it limits the investment, it would put their growth prospects and also the extent and the cornerstone for these employers and their revenues are the investments that have been made up and down the coast in Norway. So it needs to be looked at as a big picture and not only the big farming companies, but where the entire value chain for producing a salmon comes into question. And it's not only a phase that you can isolate by itself.
You can't isolate the farming in sea alone, because this guy's revenue is driven by the actual tax subject. That's what I'm saying.
And it's not only this, but it's every, say, carpenter and construction company that also helps build, say, a new smolt plant that is a major part of the revenues for other stakeholders also linked to the industry. So it's not affecting only a small part, but a cornerstone for a lot of businesses in the coast.
But being Kontali, we love looking back, we love status quo, but outlook is also something you do quite a lot, Lars Daniel. And how do you see the outlooks going further now into the future, so to speak?
Yeah, so we have as a basis for this, we of course note that the uncertainty is still there. But we always have a base case on what we hold most likely. This was before this new tax regime already limited to capacity growth and a scenario investment in, say, large smolt strategy, which would have increased, say, utilization, turnover of biomass, and also land-based and investments and offshore that is coming and in the pipeline. The key assumption that we have changed is that the capacity growth going forward will be less, and also the pace in investment will be lower due to more tax. This implies also, say, lower yields and utilization of the, say, biomass that we have, but also a slower growth pace in harvest volume than we envisaged before this new tax regime. So it's still limited, but more limited. And we also anticipate that it's the offshore will likely be part of a resource tax regime, but not, say, major small investment, and significantly lower, say, investment in smolt, increasing the smolt size in Norway.
Do you see this as an opportunity for offshore farming then?
Yeah, but it has already, and before this new tax regime, also been an opportunity. That so the offshore outlook hasn't changed.
No.
But it's
not will be shocked that you have made a graph of this as well. So
yeah, but it's more the change in available capacity and money to invest to grow, and make improvements also to tackle the sea lice issues that the industry is also facing. So this graph is how we model it. So we model the salmon production, not only in Norway, but all other major farming regions down on a monthly level on 6 fish groups growing each month. And we find it very easy and to predict and look at the future and potential of the Norwegian salmon farming industry, but also all other regions. But this tax regime makes it more uncertain on the regulatory level.
Yeah, so it's not technology anymore; it's regulatory. But it's always been like that, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's always been like this, and also where Norway is in our updated 10-year forecast has a lower share of the growth.
Yeah. So you see a stagnation in supply of salmon meats to the market, you can say. So prices we should expect fairly high and low rise in harvest for us.
Yeah. So it's salmon production is is likely also to be even more limited in the next 10 years, and at least in the short to also medium term is even more limited due to the fact that investments have been put on hold, cancelled in the wait of what will happen with this new tax regime, and projects they are cancelled and not likely to be impacted. And this is the result here is of course less fish to be produced and also less tax revenue from other sides of the salmon value chain. But we'll continue to follow it. But the key take is that the industry is more limited now than what it was.
Yeah. So we're kind of starting to round up here, but do you have any kind of final thoughts you want to highlight that you haven't discussed here, or things you think I should know? You're trying to explain this for me. I don't know if it's sinking in, but
we couldn't. If there's anybody that have questions or particularly that they would follow up, please send them to us. But we don't see any way the industry will be able to meet the demand that is growing, at least in a longer term perspective. And offshore air is coming, land-based is also coming, and there will be investment options in the salmon farming industry. This new tax regime, there's a clear distinction what is the tax from existing companies versus what is the future prospects and new types of investment. That should be a clear distinction here what it is, and it will likely, if it's proposed changes and new tax regime, will have consequences not only for the industry but up and down and all other stakeholders that will be affected, and also deserves to be taken into account.
So basically what you told me today is that there's a new tax regime coming, and the model is more important than what it actually does. It's going to be very tough to be a Norwegian-owned salmon farming company. 2/3 of your cash flow is gone, and we're going to have reduced harvest of fish, not only in Norway, but totally global. I'm guessing because Norway is so big, there's opportunity there for offshore farming. We're going to see lower utilization of the MAB and stagnation, more or less, not as rapid small growth as you so nicely put it.
Yeah, more limited growth prospects.
Yeah. So I think you explained it fairly well.
Yeah. So thank you.
Thank you everyone for watching, and we will probably come back with season 2 of the resource rent taxation in June, maybe.
Yeah, we'll see, and we'll likely continue also to follow the process and what's being decided and the final outcome.
Yeah, so thank you everyone for following me and Lars Daniel, or mostly Lars Daniel, trying to explain for me what this resource rent tax is. And as Lars Daniel said, if you have any questions, reach out and we'll try to answer them as best as we can.